Would like to wish everyone out there a happy Friday for November 2022. It is roughly 1500 hours here on the northeast coast of Florida. That is 3 p.m. in the afternoon for you civilians. It's about 83 degrees and partly sunny, a little bit overcast now this afternoon, as usual, but nevertheless a beautiful day and a day to be thankful for. Would also like to be diligent and say thank you to everyone who has continued to join us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where it's only $1 per month. That's it. Only one level for everybody, and you have access to everything, the 100 plus videos going back 4 years. We do a video about every 7 to 10 days, and some have said, Florida Maquis, don't you know Patreon's kind of part of all the big cabal that is involved in censorship? Well, I've had people come to my channel over there and delete immediately because the imagery was too graphic. It's a Florida Maquis. I can't handle nudity, and there's nudity, not to be gratuitous, but to make a point. There's always a point. There's always training to be had. We talk about the 24 cognitive biases, the 24 logical fallacies. We talk about the 3 methods of persuasion that are always being used by the mainstream media. Military-level psychological operations. That's what this is all about. So, humbly, thank you for those of you who are there. For those of you who want to join, like I said, $1. Fully refundable. Up to 90 days if it's not for you, so absolutely no risk. In today's video here, however, what's coming in the next year is going to make 2020 look like a warm-up, because they're already telegraphing it over at the mainstream media. The last 2 years has been a complete and total abysmal failure for their worldview. It has not worked. The guy that they put in the chair, so to speak, has failed them completely. In fact, he's taken them backward. But they have a mistaken impression of where they live, and that's going to be the problem. That is going to be the issue. Now, I know for the last week or so I've been talking about Lisa Haven. I have absolutely no communications with Lisa Haven whatsoever, but right before I started to record this video, she dropped one. I thought, well, I'm going to listen and see what she has to say. And virtually, it was the entire idea I had for a video. She talks about all of these different left-wing outlets and the anger and the consternation that they have over what's coming that they can do nothing about. See, they're not even trying to influence anybody anymore. At these left-wing outlets, they're just expressing their anger at already having failed. You see, now that's the key. That's the key. That's going to be the major difference. Now, what if I told you it has something to do with what's coming with what we predicted here at this channel many, many years ago? Some are probably asking, what is it that you said that they're totally mistaken about? I don't understand that part. Well, stick around. This is going to be the key. Over and over again, especially in the Lisa Haven video, and I will give you the link. Every one of these, whether it's the president or pundit or whoever or expert, we're losing our democracy. Democracy is on the ballot. We're not going to live in a democracy. We never have lived in a democracy. We live in a republic. Thomas Jefferson, a democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% can take away the rights of the other 49, whereas a republic is a government of laws. A democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes itself, exhausts, and murders itself, because there never was a democracy that didn't commit suicide. See, this has been tried. See, they think they live in a democracy, not a democratic republic. Now, some might say, but Florida Maquis, shouldn't we live in a democracy? Shouldn't it always be equal? Well, here's a great way to think about this. How many of you know what a ballot measure is? That's where when you go to the polls, not only do you vote for people, you can vote for laws to be enacted. Instead of the legislature voting on them, they actually put it to the people. What is a ballot measure? A ballot measure is a law, issue, or question that appears on a statewide or local ballot for voters of the jurisdiction to decide. Most ballot questions and measures are asking to approve laws. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's think about something. How many of you know what a moratorium is? Moratorium, legally authorized delay in usually the payment of money or a temporary cessation of any activity, especially when it can be perceived as dangerous or harmful. So why couldn't we just put a ballot measure on to lay a moratorium on the collection of federal income taxes? Of course, we have this recession looming. We have all of these financial problems that people are going through. They're barely making ends meet, and inflation is so high. There'd be a good reason for it. A temporary, let's say 5-year moratorium. Now remember, not on the charging of income taxes. You would still owe the income taxes. But a 5-year moratorium on the collections activity done by the IRS. You see, they could keep track. They could keep track. Say, okay, well, you owe this much this year, but we have this moratorium in place, so there'll be no collection activity. Now, if this were something that in a direct democracy, that moratorium would be reenacted every 5 years from now until the end of time, just like the way they put the 16th Amendment in to charge federal income taxes in. They have to re-up that all the time. They have to re-up that, reauthorize that. Not the idea of collecting federal income taxes. Federal income tax withholding out of your, withholding out of your check every week or every 2 weeks or how often you get paid. See, the idea of pulling those taxes out ahead of time was something that was an emergency provision for World War II, but they reenact that emergency provision and have since then. Well, why don't we create an emergency provision now? A ballot measure that would put a moratorium on the collection. They would never see another dime again. Some of you might remember when the whole pandemic hit, the IRS created their own unofficial moratorium on collections activities. And I know a lot of you think I'm not on board with the governor. He made one critical mistake, I think, but 99% of what the governor of Florida has done, I totally agree with. See, he's smart because he knows that in our Constitution, the state has the police power, not the federal government. So Florida could put that to a ballot measure and say, you know what, we're going to, we don't have a state income tax in Florida, but we could say, you know what, the activities of collecting the taxes, we're going to put a moratorium on that. We're not going to say people don't owe. We're not going to stop the owing of the taxes. We are just going to put a moratorium on the activity. Now, think about this idea of the people being able to, through ballot measures, create moratoriums on anything. On anything. Someone like, what does this have to do with prisons? You could create a moratorium on sentencing. Oh, you could take them through the whole rigmarole of convicting them of whatever, this, that, or the other. But through ballot measure, you could say, we're going to create a moratorium now on the intake of new prisoners. And we're also going to create a moratorium on the enforcement of sentences over 10 years. In fact, we're going to, because we need the workforce, we're going to issue emergency good time credits to release people right now. See, all sorts of things can be done through this thing called ballot measures. Deferred sentences. You see, we have all of these laws that have mandatory sentencing for this, mandatory sentencing standards for that and the other. All we need is a ballot measure to put a moratorium on the enforcement. And that will just open the gates of hell. All the Democrats will have to do is take a quick look at the politics of who is locked up wherever, and magically they will be able to create all sorts of opportunities to put people back on the streets and put ballots in their hands. regardless of what they've done, and do so in a democratic way. See, we're a republic, but we do things democratically. See, if people were not so all fired up worried about democracy, they wouldn't have cared about the outcome of the 2020 election. Why would that be? Why would that bother anybody? Because that's mob rule, is it not? Nobody cared. Nobody cared about the results of the electoral college this or electoral college that. It seems like it's kind of an extra step to a lot of people. That's a bit of an annoyance. Because it doesn't really matter one way or the other, does it? And this is what, if you watch this video from Lisa Haven, she absolutely nails it. Because she goes through, and all of these Democrats, they've just completely given up. Because they're talking about political violence. This is a Biden issued a stark warning Wednesday about threats to American democracy, using a primetime speech to urge voters to reject ultra-MAGA Republicans who undermine faith in the voting process. And who else does she cover here? There's another guy, I don't remember this guy's name, how they're going to take your kids, another MSNBC anchor. I mean, they have just given up. This is the first time I've really seen this. Even Slick Willie. Even Slick Willie got in on the act. I'm surprised this guy's still alive. House Majority Whip, U.S. on track to repeat Nazi Germany. See, they're already making excuses for their loss. They're not even trying to win. They're not even trying to win. Because for the last 2 years, here's the key. They've been seen as the man. They've been seen as the man, the one that's been on top of the hill, the one that's been in charge, and it's gone horribly wrong for them. Horribly wrong. So they need to get that underdog thing going for them. That they think is the reason MAGA Republicans have gotten so much push and so much support. See, they can't admit that it was anything they've done. They can't admit it was their problem. That they just couldn't get their act together on any kind of a national scale anywhere. Now, if you have someplace that's going to decide, you know what, we're just going to let the prisoners go. We are going to put moratoriums on sentencing no matter what they've done, and we're just going to let them go. Can you think of a safer place to be right now than Florida? Or Texas? Given what we've seen in the last few years, especially the sheriffs coming out and forcibly stating, hey, use your weapons. Use your weapons to defend your homes. I've heard Texas sheriffs say that. I've heard Florida say that. Now, some might ask, but Maki, you have California and Virginia and all these other places, New York and up east and green as well. That's right. Because remember, the Democrats, they don't care about the unwashed masses. They're going to make sure they're taken care of. For sure. There might be parts of California that are worse than others, but the way I did this map, I couldn't really break it down by county. I think there's in California, because it's such a big place, there will be places that are much more dangerous and much less dangerous. But generally speaking, I would not want to be out here in the Midwest. And it has nothing to do with the idea of you guys being armed or not. You're going to be outnumbered. That's going to be the problem. You are going to be hopelessly outnumbered unless you guys move into compounds together. There are a whole bunch of neighborhoods way out in the Midwest, peaceful, quiet neighborhoods, full of guys who have gun cabinets full of guns, who regularly pass out in the recliner watching whatever on TV every night. And that's going to be a problem. They have very little or no security plan. And once these guys get a hold of even a few of these, after they get out of prison, the really bad ones, minor thugs and street urchins are going to turn into cartels. And it's going to get out of control quickly. Very, very quickly. See, it's not going to be 2020 was the big cities. 2022 to 2024, that's going to be the suburbs. it's going to start to hit home for a lot of people. And they're going to let it because they want to be able to blame MAGA Republicans. So, anyway, more details. Check out this Lisa Haven video. Incredibly well done. Restricted Republic. Absolutely nailed it. Once again, no communication. I have no direct communication behind the scenes with Lisa Haven. But to listen to her talk, it's like she's inside my head or I'm inside hers, one way or the other. We're seeing exactly the same thing coming down the road. So I think she may live in Florida. I'm not exactly sure about that, but somewhere I heard, I think maybe she might live here in Florida. But anyway, maybe it's a Florida thing. Who knows? But I'm sure glad I'm blessed to live here. Have a great weekend, guys. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.